And welcome back to part two. For me, it's been basically a minute since we just finished off part one, but for you, I mean, it depends on when you started watching this. So, yeah, I mean, this is still really fresh in my mind, so I know what we're gonna do. So that's good. I'm not like starting off the next day or anything, so that's a good thing. I do have a fair bit of time, so I mean, I'm just gonna probably finish off this tutorial. Depends on when I'm free. Okay. First thing that we're going to do now is I am going to start off with creating something called game data. We're still in content view, and the first part we started off with doing the content view, but I want to do this, create a class called game data. And this is going to be an observable object, and this is going to be a published. This is going to be basically a container for views to use. It's like an at state variable, but can be used in multiple views, just not just one. Actually, this would be used in multiple places, but that's for the use of binding. I'll talk about that later. But this can be used and changed by any view that has the same instance of it. I'm going to be creating actually, before I do all that, I do want to create something in scavenger hunt data called video info before I create all this game data stuff, since the video info is what we need more. And so this video info is just going to contain, well, video info. So I'm going to create a struct called video info, and we're going to create a variable called some different variables. For example, title, this is going to be a string, and then we're going to create a signature, file name, that's also going to be a string. This is basically the file name of the signatures, which is WWDC 19, 20, and 21. So then we're also going to create a thumbnail URL path. That's also going to be a string. And then the video clips, for video clips, this is also going to be, this is just like the clips, the screenshots of the video that we want to contain. We've got all these different parts of the video. These are just screenshots, so we just want to create a tuple, which is just a container for like a variable, but it can store multiple values. So this can store, in this case, an image and a time interval. So the image is a screenshot, and the time interval is what part of the video it is in. And that's really it. My fan is really, really loud, so hopefully you can hear me over this. If not, apologies. Hopefully if this is going to be removed in post-production, maybe not, I don't know. But hopefully you can still hear what I'm saying. There is a problem. I don't know what's happening, but it must be a bug. If I just do Command B, yeah, it's a bug. I think it's a bug anyway, hopefully. But yeah, there's no errors, nothing wrong on our part. And what we're going to do is create a basically an array of these video infos, so we can just store all this. Well, since it's scavenger hunt data, might as well just store all this video data. I just copied this all from another app, a test app actually, so most of the stuff should be the same, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the signature file name from signature WDC19, 20, and 21. One other thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to space it out so it's easier for you to see, not just being one giant, it's not just one giant series of different things all in one line, because it's a little messy. But anyways, most of the stuff here is basically the title, signature file name, thumbnail URL path, and video clips. If you are using your own videos, then don't use this. Rather, just use just create your own with your own titles. Well, for titles, these are just YouTube titles. I mean, the thumbnail URLs, these are just URLs from YouTube's thumbnail library. I don't know what it's called. It's ytimage.com. I think that's what it is. So yeah, the structure here is, this, basically it's the same. This is the ID of the video. It's basically in the URL. There's like a bunch of random text. That's the ID. But yeah, so you've got 3 different videos. I've spaced it out now, so it's easier to see. If you want to copy it down, you can. I mean, if you don't want to go through, copy everything, then I'd recommend not, because it's going to take some time, unless you do want to copy everything word for word. But, use your own videos or use someone else's videos. I mean, there are lots of videos on YouTube, and you can create a scavenger hunt for whatever video you want to do. So, yeah. I mean, the good thing about apps is that you can mix and match. You can change anything to your own liking. Anyways, enough of me talking about how apps are made. Let's go back to content view. Let's finish off this game data, by the way, since all the other views are going to rely on this. So to create something that can be viewed and changed by all the other views and updated in all views, you have to create something called published. So once it's changed, it's published. That's what this tag is, @published. So it's going to be @published for our video, and it's going to be of type video info. I'm going to make this an optional, because if there's no video that's been recognized, then there's no video. I'm also going to create another thing called @published for our video, or variable called found video, and it's going to be false. Now, you don't have to change this manually. If you saw these curly braces, you might know what I'm going to do. I'm going to add a did set observer. So once this variable has been changed, I can set found video to video is not equal to nil. So if it's not nil, then we have found a video. Otherwise, dispatch queue, basically, since this is going to update the views, we do need to put this in the main thread and not the background thread. I learned this the hard way when, an error for, well, it's not really the hard way because it's not a hard way, but I just found it out myself because there was this thread error saying, hey, or it was actually a warning, and it just said things should be updated on the main thread. So I'm going to use dispatch queue for this. So dispatch queue.main.async. Might as well just do it asynchronously, since if you want to make it smoothly, then go ahead. So for this dispatch queue main async, I'm gonna put self inside these square brackets. So instead of having to reference self and do self dot, it's much easier just to write this, and so you don't have to put self in front of everything. Instead of having to do this, it's this. So it's less typing. I mean, you don't have to add this, but it's less typing, and it saves a lot of time. Then I add another thing called shuffled clips, and this is going to be a shuffled version of the video clips. The reason why we're not using video clips is because when we're actually creating or generating these clips to be presented, I want to randomize them, so it's not always the same and predictable thing. So this is going to be basically the same type here. I can just copy and paste this. It's the same array, except I'm going to put random brackets next to it, just so it's an empty. It's just so it's empty. Actually, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make this optional because I don't want to be. I don't want to cause any crashes, and I just want to make it. Hey, it could be it could exist. It might not exist. It could be here. It might not be here. So I'm gonna add another one called variable called question correct effects. This is going to be false. So these are just effects. So I'm not sure if you saw in the game, but in the game screen there's like a red circle that tells you how many clips you've done. So 1 out of 5 or 2 out of 5, so on, so forth. And so once we get something correct, I want it to light up green. So I'm going to add another published variable. These are all published, by the way, since we all want these to update the views. And I'm going to make this, I'm going to call this clips done. So this is how many we've gotten. I'm going to set this to 0 since we haven't done any. Did set, that's going to be, I want this to, basically want this change. I want it to update this question correct effect. But I only want this to be true for 2 seconds and then turn off. Since the effects should only really last 2 seconds. And it's only really this circle just turning green and red. So again, we're going to do another dispatch queue main async since views are meant to be updated in the main thread. So this is going to be question correct effect. I'm going to set this to true. I'm also going to set a timer, schedule timer for 2 seconds. I'm going to use this one with a block. So 2 seconds. I'm not going to make this repeat. And this block is where we can put all our different stuff in once this timer is already finished. So the timer, we don't need the timer, so put an underscore there just to say, hey, we don't need this timer. You don't need to put this in here or use it. Like, we're not using it. Okay, so question correct effects. And we're going to set question correct effects to false since we only need it for 2 seconds and we just turn it off. All right, so we're halfway through, or we should be about halfway through this part. I'm going to go over and create the other 2 views. The first thing that we want to create here is the menu screen, since that's the one that's being displayed here. So I'm going to create a struct called starter screen, make this of type view since it's a view, and then I'm going to add some. So one thing that this does require is a body. This is where we put all our stuff in, same as this content view. So we just type in body. Oh, and it's already there. So autocomplete does it for you. You just need to add the curly braces, and that's it. So other than that, I mean, not much else. I mean, we just need to first of all add a binding, an app binding called var game. This is going to be a boolean. So true or false. It's basically the in-game here. The reason why it's binding is so we can actually change it. So instead of only receiving it, we can change it. Yeah. And so we're also going to create a geometry, and this is going to be a geometry proxy. It's basically just for us to get the screen size and make things easier for us. And also an observe object, which is game data that we need. Okay. Fans running, but I'm just making sure that recording software, hasn't crashed yet, which is good. So so actually that's what we need. I'm gonna create just a spacer, and I'm just gonna put in some placeholder text before we add anything else. Just gonna say, I'm gonna make this useful. This is text that's gonna be on top of the button. It's just kind of a prompt. So we're gonna put in game data dot found video. If we have found a video, it's gonna say, and without further ado, this without further ado thing is actually something that I do say in my videos. Usually I just say, and without further ado, let's get started. I mean, that's what I do in most of my tutorials, at least. Anyways, that's when we found the video. But if you haven't found a video, just say play a video to begin. Exclamation mark, because you always need an exclamation mark, because why not? Let's add a padding down the bottom, just add a space for in between the text and the button. This is also going to be 30 points or pixels, and this font is going to be dot title 2. So just going to make it fairly big as well. If I press resume, oh, it says computed property must have ancestor. Oh, never mind. That error, I guess, it wasn't really an error. Okay, before we put this starter screen inside our concept view, we do need to add some stuff to our concept view. One of the things here is going to be a observed object for the game data. So since we're observing this object, it's appropriately named observed object. So actually, I don't think I mentioned it. Yeah, this is also being observed. I typed it subconsciously, I guess. So yeah, this is going to be a game data. Since we're trying to reference the same instance of it, we're using the same one. So, you know, we don't have two different game datas. We only have that one, which this is basically what we call the source of truth. The concept view has a source of truth. It's where it has all this truth, and, you know, all the other views use that truth. Basically, the truth is the data. I don't know, it just sounds like some sort of like Indiana Jones thing, like, you know, Indiana Jones, the source of truth. It could be like a new movie. I mean, if people from Indiana Jones are making a new movie, hey, I mean, actually, I have a suggestion for them, source of truth. Anyways. So for this body, I'm gonna, in the else section, I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put in the starter screen, and inside the brackets, we also need to feed in the in-game, or the different parameters. So for the in-game thing, it's at $ in-game. For geometry, it's a geometry, and for game data, it's a game data. Since this is binding, I'm adding a $, just to show, hey, this is a binding thing, and that it's, you know, a two-way thing, so one way. So this can read the in-game, and it can also change it and update all the other things up here. Hey, okay, so that's, I'm just checking, seeing if there's anything else we need to add. Oh yes, we also need to add, actually, I'm gonna resume this first so we can see what we've done so far. There you go. So, because of the spacer, one thing I forgot to mention is that this spacer here adds spacing between this, between the top and the bottom. So a spacer just basically is like a balloon, and it inflates and takes as much space as it can. So that's what it's done, and it is extremely useful. So we're also going to add some video profiles, so some information about the video. So if game data.found video, if you found a video, I'm gonna also add some stuff. So first of all, I'm gonna add another spacer since we're sandwiching the video information inside the inside these spacers. So it's basically kind of like floating in the middle of the screen, if you think about it. So also gonna add some text below, and this is gonna be the game data's video title. If there's no title, since this is an optional, I'm gonna put an unknown video, since it's unknown. I mean, hey, why is this here? But, you know, like, because found video should only be true if the video is not nil. So, I mean, you can actually put anything inside. I mean, I'm just putting this in here. Like, if you think about it, if someone's found a bug or a way to break it, then it should just say unknown video, so the person knows that, hey, it's a bug. So anyways, I'm also gonna make this font title 2. Can't actually see it at the moment, but that's all right. So so we also want this to be aligned center. So using multi-line text alignment, we can center it. I'm also going to create an async image. This async image is the thumbnail image. Since we only have a URL of it, I'm going to take this opportunity to create an async image, which is new in iOS 15, and basically macOS as well. But it's a new thing in SwiftUI where you can take in a URL and it will load that image for you automatically. So instead of having to, do some more code and grab the image and, fiddle around with different URL things, it's much easier. So inside this URL, it's going to be a URL with a string. This string is going to be the game data dot video dot thumbnail URL path. If there is no thumbnail or URL, then inside these question marks, just going to put in an empty string because I can't really be bothered to insert anything else. Anyways, actually one thing I do need to use is this URL content and placeholder because I do want to take this opportunity to show you some stuff. However, okay, there you go. So I forgot a bracket there. Okay, hopefully I can keep this under 30 minutes. If not, I guess it's gonna be a little bit longer than usual. Okay, so after pressing, enter on this content, it already does everything. So it fills out all this. So this first one is the content you want after it's gone the image. So I'm just gonna pass in, just use the image, and then gonna make this resizable. Gonna make it scale to fit. Also going to add a corner radius, so it's it's rounded on the corners. I'm also gonna put it in a frame. Actually, I'm gonna get rid of the scale to fit because if it's scale to fit and it's not the right aspect ratio, it's not going to look. The corner radius is gonna look really weird. So I'm just gonna make it stretch because it doesn't really matter. Besides, it should be the correct aspect ratio since this is from YouTube and YouTube should be dealing with that. Okay, for this image, the width and height, I'm gonna take the geometry, take the size and width, and multiply that by 0.8, so it only uses 0.80% of the width. And then for geometry, for the height, it's basically the same geometry.size.height multiplied by 0.8. I'm also going to multiply it by 0.5625 because I want this to conform with the 16:9 ratio, and so 0.5625 is part of that ratio. So since 9 divided by 16 is 0.5625. There you go. And also the thing here is that the height is smaller, it's shorter than the width, so it should be smaller, which is why it's less than 1, so it's making it smaller. For this placeholder is basically what we can put in if it hasn't been loaded yet. We can use a progress view, which is basically just a loading indicator, and yeah. And that's there's an error saying that it's only available in iOS 15 or newer. So I need to go over here to the top left and go to anyone can code scavenger hunt. Under targets, need to go to deployment video, not in video, deployment info, and set the target deployment drop down to iOS 15. While we're here, I'm going to go over to info and I'm going to add a new just add a plus button, and I'm going to add one called privacy microphone usage description. There you go. So this is when we're actually using ShazamKit, we do need to use the microphone, so I need to add a description which is required as to why we need this microphone. So you can put in anything, but I mean, if you want to actually release it on the App Store, you should probably actually at least put something meaningful. I believe Apple does reject your app submission if you don't have a meaningful like description that tells you why you need to use it. So yeah, so this app needs your microphone to detect videos. I mean, there's nothing. I'm just gonna keep it simple. I mean, if you've tried out my apps, for example, Weather Duck, if it asks you for your location, it says quack. You know, this app needs your location for blah blah blah. It doesn't say blah blah blah, but yeah, it has some reason why you need a location, because it tells the users, hey, we need the location, and it's not for anything bad. We just need it for this reason. Okay, so that's all we need to put in for this starter screen. Fortunately, I don't think I can show you because there's no video to be shown. You know what? Actually, I'm gonna set for this time and this time only. I'm gonna go and just add some placeholder here and set found videos to true. Just so I can test. So found video is true, so I can show the information. And for video, it's just the first video, which is the 2019 video, I think. I'm going to press play, and there you go, it loads it. Oh, that's very that's not good. No wonder. It's not meant to be geometry.size.width. It's meant to be geometry. I mean, it's not meant to be height. It's meant to be width. Sorry about that. There you go. It should be right. So as you can see, there's a loading indicator, and it already just loads it. So yeah, there you go. It's working. It's good. Okay, I'm gonna stop doing that. Pressing the play button, since that does take a fair bit of processing power. I'm just gonna undo this and set found video to false, just to give it a clean slate. I really want to sneak in the game screen, so I'm gonna do that right now. So struct starter screen, and this is gonna be a view. Sorry, not video, view. And basically the same thing. Just gonna copy and paste, make things quicker. And for the body, that's just gonna be the same here. And so let me just set in-game to true for a content view so we can test it out. I'm also gonna put starter or game screen. Actually, why is it starter screen? It should be game screen. Don't know why I call it starter screen. Anyways, game screen. And this is basically the same. We're just feeding in the same information because it's what we need. There you go. Yeah, so there shouldn't be any other errors. Oh yes, because this body is actually, I'm actually gonna put some stuff in it. Okay, so I might as well have to go back to game data and set videos and set that to 0 and actually found video. Yeah, actually no, I'll keep that as false. Because I don't think that's needed for game screen, only for a starter screen. Anyway, so if I resume, it should be fine. I mean, it should be changing. There you go. So background's different as well, so that's good. So yeah, you've got a giant black circle. That's not what we want. So I'm gonna fill this with a red or green color. So I'm gonna use game data's question correct effects. If they're on, then I'm gonna set it to green. Otherwise, I'm gonna set it to red. The effects are also a good indicator of whether or not you've got something correct. So at the moment it's red, since we haven't actually gotten anything correct yet. We haven't actually started playing the game yet. We're only creating the game. So yeah. I'm also gonna frame this to the geometry's size.width. I'm gonna multiply that by 0.3. So it's only 30% of the width of the screen size, that is. And I'm also going to overlay, what else do we need to overlay? We do need to overlay some text. This text is just something saying, which I'm gonna add some new lines. just to make it easier to see. And inside this text, I'm going to embed some other information from game data. So game data dot clips done. That's the first one. At the moment, it should actually. I'm going to add 1 to it because we want it to start off at 1 and not 0. So currently it just says 1. This needs to be 1 out of whatever. So it should be game data dot video clips dot count. Video should be optional, so I need to put a question mark there. And if it's nil, it should be 0. Right now it shouldn't be nil, so it says 1 out of 3. Since the WWDC19 video only has 3 clips, which I've added. So we're okay. So this is almost done. So just bear with me for a bit. I'm gonna make this text bold, and I'm also going to add a foreground color. Make it white, and I'm going to set the font to a large title. Just make it as large as I can. So it should update, and there you go. It's large and big. It's big, and it's nice and bold. I'm also going to add some spacer, so we can move everything up. I'm also going to sandwich some stuff inside the spacer, and I also need to add an if game. So it should be if game data dot shuffle clips isn't empty. Just fallback since the shuffle clips may not be there. Actually, no. If game data dot shuffle clips. No, if I'm gonna do if let game data. No, clips equals game data dot shuffle clips. And a colon, space, and then game and clips isn't empty. So just making sure it's not empty. Or actually, we don't need to check if it's not empty. All of them are shouldn't be empty anyway. Checking whether or not it's nil should be enough. So I'm going to do clips, and then I'm going to feed in game data dot clips done, and it just gets the clip that you need. I'm going to put in .0 to get the image. So this is actually feeding an image. So instead of having image whatever, this value is already an image. So you don't have to create an image. You already have the image. Anyways, I'm going to make this resizable and scale to fit. Since this is a screenshot and actually has some padding to it, I'm not going to add any rounded corners. So I'm going to set frame, and then I'm going to add geometry.size.width. I'm just going to set the scale. Actually, why not just copy it from here, just to keep things simple and easy. And then under there is just some text saying find and play this part of the video. It's just an instruction. Since shuffle clips is actually empty, there is nothing to be shown. So anyways, that's mostly it for the views. I'm gonna add a button, a game toggle button to toggle whether or not you're in the game, but I'm gonna keep that in for part 3. And in part 3, I'm gonna get a start on the ShazamKit stuff, and I might have a pretty short part 4 to connect everything up. Anyways, I'm not sure. I mean, depends on what else we need to do. So I'm gonna delete this, and on that note, might as well set in-game to false. So on that note, that's all I need to do, or that's all you need to do for part 2. In part 3, we're gonna continue with all that, with everything else, ShazamKit, and hopefully we can finish it up. If not, there might be a part 4, which would probably be a lot shorter. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, just leave a thumbs up, subscribe, share it, whatever. That is if you like it. And that's all I really need to say. So thanks for watching, and see you in part 3. Yes, part 3. I was just counting. Anyways, see you.